Hello. Well, I think this thing's working. Well, first of all, I've received a lot of comments to do Bo Burnham's Inside special, and I decided to watch it. And for this review, I decided it'd be appropriate to first of all stand. Normally, I'm sitting on that side of my bed doing these reactions, but I decided it'd be a better idea to stand and use a microphone to make it more like the inside aesthetic that Bo used. I was gonna use a slightly fancier microphone that looks and feels more like a microphone, but the feedback I was getting from it was a bit too intense for talking. That's more of like a studio singing microphone. So we're gonna use the blue snowball microphone. It's still pretty cool though. I can still make some pretty cool effects on this software I've got going. Woo woo woo. Hello 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 hello. Yeah yeah woo woo. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But without further ado, let's get into some Bo Burnham. So if you're new to my channel, I've reacted to a lot of Bo Burnham over the past week, mainly because of comments and suggestions to do stuff. And one comment I'd receive over and over again was to do his Inside special. And honestly, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to react for an hour and a half to a special. And ultimately, I decided that was too much for me, at least right now. I didn't have the editing capabilities to really keep up with that. But I did decide to watch it, and I am giving a review on it now. As someone who didn't know who Bo Burnham was really a week ago, I didn't really know who he was. And this was the first special that I've ever watched by him. So I went in cold, like I usually do with Bo, not really knowing anything about him. And I just decided to watch it from the beginning. And I was immediately surprised when I found out that it wasn't being recorded in front of a full audience. It was being recorded in a single room during around the pandemic area of time. And it was just Bo. There was no crew, there was no camera, there's no audience. So yeah, that's basically the premise of Inside. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend you go see it right now before I spoil some things about it. And I really just want to give my opinion on it and talk about some of the stuff that he did during it that I really liked, or maybe didn't like as much. But overall, I'm going to give this a really positive review because the special is amazing, and I think everyone should see it. So without further ado, let's just get right into the review and reaction. So let me pull up my notes really fast. Mainly what I have pulled up here is the track list. Oh, you really can't see that. It's the track list, the songs to his special. And I guess I was kind of a fool for thinking that the songs and the special were unrelated. I thought that I knew for a fact that he'd use some of the songs on his album in the special, but I never really thought that the whole special would revolve around the songs like it did. So that was my first immediate shock. And again, this is my first Bo special I've ever reacted to, so that was all new for me. And you start with Content as the opening song, and I think this is just obviously a good song to start off with. I mean, this is his first time doing a special in like 5 years, so he's got some content for us. Comedy was funny. FaceTime with my mom, really funny, especially when he's going into the whole setup and he's talking about how like his mom's covering the screen with her thumb and he's like trying to tell her to move your thumb. Thought that was hilarious. How the world works was a really clever way of kind of giving his view on the world with a little puppet, making it seem like it was kind of a kid's show going on when he's like cussing in the background. I thought that was hilarious. Socko was amazing, the little hand puppet he had on his hand. So at this point, I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be like a fun special. And I knew that he was working on this in a room alone without like really any, I'm assuming he didn't really go outside of that room. I mean, maybe to, like, you got to wonder, did he get food delivered or something like that? I'm not really sure. But basically, the main point is he was in that room for almost a year making this. And so I was just expecting some good comedy, but I think in the back of my mind I was kind of like, what's really behind this special? Because I mean, I'd listened to All Eyes on Me before the special, and so I was like, wow, that's really really powerful. So I was wondering how we were going to get up to that point, and it was at this time I discovered that each song was being presented. So I'm like, okay, we're starting off funny, but we're going to end up at All Eyes on Me. So I was curious to see what that path was going to be like. So anyway, How the World Works, White Woman's Instagram, again, just another lighthearted, funny song. Unpaid Intern, I really liked. Just, again, funny song. Bezos, I'd seen all over TikTok. That was funny, the way he just kind of makes fun of these really, really multi-billionaire rich people. Sexting, again, really funny. Probably one of my lesser favorites on the whole special. But, I mean, there's really not a lesser favorite. The whole special was great, and all the music was good. That one I just wasn't as much of a fan of in the first section as the others. We get to Look Who's Inside again, and I think this is where I think the tone of the special kind of gets darker, because I forget exactly where he mentions it, but he mentions that he's been working on the special for 6 months, and 6 months in a room, that's a long amount of time. So you almost kind of see him kind of like start to really phase in and out of the special and of what he's doing. So that was very interesting to see. We get to Problematic, and it's kind of like, again, more of an upbeat, kind of making fun of himself. He's talking about his Aladdin costume, like, oh, was that offensive? What am I supposed to do now? Should I burn it? Wait, should I not burn it? Again, pretty funny. I like that whole viewpoint he had on his own personal, like, ideals and what he did. He kind of was reflecting on his younger self. Really made it a little funny clip to watch. And then we get to 30. This might have been when he was talking about the 6 months. I can't remember, honestly, but he's got this little clock up on his desk, and he's like, I told myself that I wasn't going to be working on this project when I turned 30, because he's alone in a room and he's making this project like by himself. He didn't want to do that for his 30th birthday. And as he's talking, you literally see the clock go from like 11:58 to 11:59. And he sees that and he's like, well, I'm going to be 30 in 1 minute. And he talks and he's like, you know what? Let's just watch this. Moment of silence. And he turns 30 on camera. And then 30 starts playing. And this for me was when the whole tone of the special went from like really funny and kind of happy and joyous and poking fun at things to like a deeper dive into Bo's like mental health and his like ideals, because that's just like a powerful thing to think of. Like, he's 30 and he's still working on this special for us. He's been in this house for 6 months or whatever it was. That's when I really felt like the whole overall mood of the special changed. Anyway, we go into Don't Want to Know, Shit, All Time Low. These three was like back to back. Like, you really feel for him. You really see his mental health start to deteriorate. He mentions he's like I remember at one point he's on this chair, he's recording himself, and he's trying to he's basically trying to introduce like the next segment or whatever, and he's like beating himself up. He's like hitting his knee. He's like, I can't do this. And to me it sounded fine. It sounded like the first 2 takes he had were perfect. Like, he didn't need to stress about anything. But he keeps beating Mike. But he's sitting in that chair, and he's basically like beating himself up over like a tiny intro that really seemed normal. It seemed fine to me, the viewer. At least to me it did. And that's when you're like, oh my goodness, like, this is taking a toll on him. And I don't know if it was later or after. I'm still trying to figure out the perfect timeline. But he's like, I've been working on this thing for a year now. I didn't even want to be working on it for 6 months. And you have to remember, this is during like the pandemic. This is when everyone's inside. This was for many people the worst year of their life. People going through a lot of divorces, struggling to find jobs, and he's just alone in this room trying to put out this music. And to see him like fail or struggle even like the slightest way, it's actually really painful to watch. And it's like a complete 180, I feel like, from the beginning of the special. Because the beginning, I just feel like he had so much energy, and over time it just slowly ticks down. And I think we hear that in his music too. So after Bezos 2, we get kind of like this brief interlude. This is the one exception, I feel like, to the second half. It's not nearly as it's more joyous, I guess I should say. It goes back to kind of poking fun at Bezos. But anyway, we go up to that funny feeling, and this is like, to me, a really like ominous track. I can put some of the lyrics on the screen and we can dive down into them more. But I just remember hearing this in the special and being like, wow, like it didn't really make me laugh. It just kind of made me feel like, because I had just seen him basically like go through this mental breakdown, and he starts, first of all, he's on a guitar on like a campfire setting. And I'm like, what point is he trying to get across? Like, what are we supposed to be feeling right now? What are we supposed to be doing? And so I'm kind of just hesitant for his next song. And the next song turns out to be All Eyes on Me. And to me, this is like the climax of the whole special, personally. This is like the tip of the iceberg, where he's like making this statement. And this is where I really wished I would have watched the special before reacting to All Eyes on Me, because All Eyes on Me was the only song I had heard off of this whole special, and I really wish I would have waited to watch the whole special first, and that been the first time I'd heard this song, because it's a really powerful song. And I didn't know the background to it when I reacted to it originally. I kind of just thought it came off an album, like a normal album with no real backstory, kind of just an album of songs. And when you get to this part, this is what, the second to last song basically on the thing. You get to this point and you really feel what's led up to the song and the stuff he's had to go through, and it finally leads up to that song, and you're just like, what? And you're just like, mind is almost blown. You get like goosebumps, and you just hear him sing. And that was like really powerful for me, like to start off the special with like such optimism and such like high hopes. Not that he's necessarily, he talked about he's not suicidal or anything like that, like it's not that dark, but for it to go down considerably towards the end, really powerful stuff that he created, and the way he presented that song. And I was just like, that, to me, that was the best part. For me, All Eyes on Me is my favorite song off the special, especially knowing like the story leading up to that, and how, again, he was working on this for basically a year, whereas before I just thought it was just a song he thought of. So for me, that made the biggest impact and change. And after All Eyes on Me, we get kind of this like monologue from him. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. He's like, I think I have the last song. I don't really want to do it. I'm just gonna play it. And he does. And it's Goodbye. And to me, this is like the perfect ending song. He's kind of talking about the special and about his life, and it really flows nicely into the end of the song. We see the credits, and he's got another 50-second Any Day Now, but that kind of just plays over the credits, so the special's already ended by then. But yeah, really powerful stuff. I mean, I kind of ruined the special, my initial listen to it, because I listened to All Eyes All Eyes on Me. And so I wish I could have gone through the funny part of the special and then immediately been hit with the All Eyes on Me, because I kind of knew it like circled back to the more depressing stuff. I wish I wouldn't have known that, and I would have just listened to it all the way through, like I'm sure many of y'all did. But that still didn't ruin the experience for me or anything. It was just really amazing to see it go from that, funny jokes, kind of slapstick humor, and then just all the way down to like his mental health and his depression. And I know for a fact that at the end of the special, he puts a link or something if you know someone who's struggling with mental health. And again, like during the pandemic, we all know what that was like. So it fits in with the times very well and depicts that very well. One thing, or a few things I didn't touch on in my initial review I just did was number one, the lighting. Like, you see him doing all the music videos and all that stuff, and the way he's lighting up. There's one scene where he's got like a light behind his back, and he flashes it out every time he hits a certain bar, and that was like amazing to see that happen. I mean, all the music videos for his music, like White Woman's Instagram or the sexting one, it's like he's got all these lights going on. You're like, how is he doing that by himself? Amazing, really talented. And then and the last thing I wanted to talk about was just like Bo as a person, and how he just did all of this and put himself through that amount of mental stress and that mental toll. Really amazing special. I mean, if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. And thank y'all for recommending that, because y'all finally got me to watch it, and I'm very glad I did. So I think that's going to conclude this review. It should be about 17 minutes long. Yeah, I mean, that's all I got from Bo. So I've officially listened to his whole Inside album as well as the special. So I won't be doing any reactions to those videos or to those music videos anymore. But I still will look and react to some of his older stuff. And if you haven't seen me react to that, it's generally, well, it has gotten like a lot of positive feedback. So I'll link some of those videos at the end of this one if you want to see me react to more Bo. And that's really all I got for this video. So thank you all for supporting the channel. If you like this or you want to see more Bo, just subscribe and leave a like. It helps me a lot. And that's all I got. Thanks for tuning in. See y'all.